It was a long-term plan. It was a 20-year plan when we started, and we're 20 years into it. It's still a 20-year plan, so it takes a long
Probably
time.
the best thing that happened was the hailstorms that made Martin quit farming.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, there is a truth to that. in
yeah.
life.
I was dating Vicky at the time, and I just said, "Hey, I'm done farming." She goes, "Well, what are you gonna do?" I go, "I don't have a clue," because back then you didn't have a fallback position. But I was always good at sales, and so I started selling cars. And within a month, I made more money in selling cars than I did farming for a year, and started storing up some money and buying some water rights. And the lake that I live on now was where we grew up, and I always dreamed of building a house there. And as a child, I have great memories of skiing and old wooden boats and spending half the time working on the carburetors on the boats. But then when I got to be a young adult and I was up there partying, the ditch company that owned it kicked me off and said no more boating. And I said, well, okay. Well, it took about 20 years, but I got enough water rights bought to buy the lake and kick them off. So.
And we had a couple of ornery old neighbors that didn't want anyone having any fun.
Yeah.
One of them said, well, the boats are eroding the shore. It's just ruining the shoreline. And I thought, you had a big windstorm. How many waves come through in a windstorm?
Right.
And one little boat's out there ruining the shoreline.
They were just, that generation was hard. They didn't grow up with anything luxury. They never had a massage. They never had, a nice meal cooked for them. They were just hard, and so they were bitter about a lot of things. So people were having fun, and a little bit to that extent, my grandma was like that. Dad's mom was. She had no time for people partying or dancing. If they have energy to dance, they should be out hoeing bees. And she was callous like that. She
was outspoken about that.
Yeah.
There was two sides of the Germans. There was the ones that had fun, polka dance, and had big parties, and then there was the side like my mother grew up in, where that was no good.
That was the devil's work there.
The devil's work.
Gosh. Or playing cards, anything like that was
And
terrible.
what was funny was my grandpa was the party. My grandpa was the party side, and my grandma was the work side.
Oh.
So that was an oil and water relationship for about 90 years too.
Yeah.
They used to do a lot of arguing.
Yeah.
But I remember going with Luther League, out onto Oklahoma Lake and water skiing or
Or
coming
ice
up
skating
ice skating and this and that. So what do you remember about church and faith and how that your church and upbringing and
The church?
yeah, how did that play into who you are
Well,
today, both of you?
It was kind of funny. My grandpa, Frank, went to that was St. John's Lutheran Church down there. And then my other grandpa went to the church on the corner, and we went to the one which was called Zion Evangelical Lutheran. But they weren't Lutheran, but they wanted to be, so they tacked the name Lutheran on. And so anyway, I was confirmed there, and had to be in German, couldn't be in English. And so we had to learn enough German to pass the confirmation, and that's all I ever remember about it, So we each had to learn one little verse in German, and then we'd say that. That was all we needed.
What was yours? Do you
Then
remember?
we're in.
You remember what you had to learn?
The church service at that church was the men sat on one side, the women on the other. And at a certain time in the service, the preacher got up, and he got up into this little balcony up on top. It's kind of a little round cupola thing that he got up and walked from behind to get in. That's where he preached the sermon. Well, when he did that, all the kids left. That was time for the kids to leave. So we're going.
For Sunday school or for?
No, we were out of there. So we would go down to my grandma's place, and when she had a ritual, she would hide candy. And so she knew we were going to find it, and we'd go through all of her stuff to find this candy, those hard candies.
Uh-huh.
And but she did it on purpose, and it was kind of a thing she did.
That's good.
So as a child, I grew up at Bethel, obviously, and same
Lutheran,
thing,
yeah.
confirmation. And Mom was an organist and choir, and so we were in there all the time. We were, after school, we'd go there, and if it was winter when we weren't working, we'd spend hours in there. I knew every nook and cranny in that church because you were exploring and getting a lot of trouble because you were in places you weren't supposed to be. And but
The belfry.
yeah,
And
yeah. But that church was a big part of our childhood. And then after church, everybody would walk out the south doors and talk, and us kids would be so irritated because Mom would talk for hours, and it was her only social time. So I know we'd play. I would take those acorn nuts off that tree out there and play
buckhorn.
war. Buckhorns. We'd
Yep.
play war with them, and yeah, it was. We learned that you don't honk the horn in the car because that cost you an hour. So, and there was no air conditioning back then, so you just sat there with the windows open, steaming. But that was Mom's social time. That was her only time to get off the
Yeah,
farm.
that was always her time, and she loved to visit with everybody. And
Yeah.
so I was always saying, well, I'll be in the car.
oh, both. Oh, okay. So
Five
it
kids, 5 kids in a station wagon.
Ooh.
Mom would be out there
was okay.
job owning. Yeah.
So how has faith played a role in your lives today?
Oh, I don't know.
Coming up on 90 years.
Yeah.
I guess I'm on the old school, you know, that I don't go along with all this modern stuff. Went to a funeral Friday for a good friend of mine at St. Albans Episcopal Church. Of course, we all had to wear masks and 6 feet spacing and all
With
that.
COVID.
And the priest they have there now, I guess I shouldn't say anything, but he's a gay priest. And that to me, that's not right. And his sermon was okay, but I look at it like, don't listen to the message, but not the messenger, because I don't think you can live that lifestyle and be a Christian. I'll always believe that, you know, because the way it is.
Well, and our childhood was Christian, very regimented, and I didn't like that, you know. So when Vicki and I started having our kids, we were more in the Christian of peaceful, you know, not such a regimented, sit in a hard bench and sing hymn 22, right? And we went to a more conventional churches, and you know, but you know, our faith is a huge part of our survival. You know, and what's cool is you know, at 90 or 60, I don't have fear of death because I know where I'm going. So.
Amen to that. So before we close up, is there anything that I haven't asked you that both of you or either of you would like to talk about? I mean, I've got folders of questions, but I want to make sure that you get to share things that you think are relevant for the people who would listen to this and watch this. The next generation, you know.
Well, I worry about the next generation. I just don't like the way things are going, and nothing I can do about it. So what I think is, you know, I just got to say the Lord's in control.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting because, you know, we all think that we know what tomorrow is, but none of us do. And, you know, in my short time in business, 35 years, I've been hit with so many things that would be career ending or what have you, and we just roll with it, and we prevail because we believe. But it's kind of fun, you know. Dad was the youngest of 5, and he was the only one in that lineage that had a boy, and he had my brother and I. And then I was the youngest in the lineage, and I was the only one that had boys. And then just last month, we got our first Lynn baby from Tyler. So we have 11 grandchildren now, and so the lineage is staying on, and because there's a lot of them that die, you know, a lot of them just cease to exist on that surname, and so it's pretty fun. It's an interesting life,
And the newest one, his name is Rip Theodore.
Is he going to go by Teddy or Theodore?
I'm not sure. I'm sure that's going to be Little Teddy for a long time.
Little
so.
Teddy.
Yeah. Yeah, ripped from the show Yellowstone, the cowboy in Yellowstone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we have 11 grandkids. They all live within 2 hours of here. So Vicki and I just are inundated with.
You have 11.
We have 11 grandkids. Yeah.
You and Vicki have 11 grandkids.
Yep.
How many grandkids do you have, Ted?
Let's see, there's 9 and 15 great grandchildren.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I hope they all watch this video, and I really feel honored to have had this time with you and to interview you both, Ted and Martin. So
This is great.
thank you
Ruth.
so much.
Yep. Awesome.